Oh, there might be in the back. Is they printing back there?
No, everyone's out.
Oh, they're not here.
I mean, there's no one back. I mean, they might be in their offices. I don't know. Nobody back behind us.
Is anybody back there? It's 7 o'clock there, but mine says 7:05. It always does. Anytime you're ready, guys. No respect, just like Rodney Dangerfield. Let's go.
We're about to get started.
Akron City Council meeting will come to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sim, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, would you please stand at this time as we are led in prayer by Pastor Ken Baxter from Lighthouse Christian Center. Immediately following our prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to ask Councilman Swirsky if he'll lead us in the pledge.
Father, we thank you tonight. We thank you for bringing us together again. We want you to know that we do trust in you with all of our hearts, and we lean not into our own reasoning nor understanding, but in all of our ways we acknowledge you and you direct our path. Father, you said righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any and every people. So we're relying on you for your wisdom and your knowledge. You said in your word that all treasures of knowledge and wisdom are hidden in you. So we're relying on you for your wisdom and your knowledge. Father, we just thank you tonight that you word every speaker's mouth tonight. Give them what to say. Give them what not to say. We thank you for it now, for your peace that's in the room even now. We thank you that a lot is done tonight, and all of our getting we get understanding. And we thank you for it now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Okay. From the minutes from the April 30th, 2018. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. All members were present except Freeman, later excused. Reading of petitions and communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolution. Representation from various departments and divisions. Public speaking period. No further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 7:30 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on May 7th or special call.
Any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
One late objection for the 2018 residential resurfacing program per resolution 98, 2018.
File.
Petition of residents of Annunciation Terrace Apartments, 25 Broad Street, regarding Tent City Second Chance.
File.
Correspondence from Mary Singletary regarding the proposed homeless shelter at Arlington and Monona.
File.
Correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Jesse White regarding signage at 1650 Diagonal Road.
File.
Okay.
We have before us the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, not Samples, Somerville, Swirsky.
We'll now move into our old business rules. Councilman Keith.
The committee would like time, Madam President.
Time will be granted. We have before us 3 public hearings, and so we're going to ask if there's anyone in the audience that is here to speak at our public hearing, not to be confused with public comment period, but if you're here to speak at concerning 1650 Diagonal Road, or 815 Carroll Street, or 1081 Eastwood, we're going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you can be sworn in by our law department.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Say, I do. Thank you.
Okay, first public hearing. Legal notice. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, May 7th, 2018, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chamber, 166 South High Street, for an ordinance authorizing conditional use to install excessive signage at 1650 Diagonal Road.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. The House of the Lord Church is requesting conditional use approval to replace 2 existing signs with new internally illuminated electronic message center signs. The proposed signs would replace existing signs at the intersection of South Hawkins Avenue and Diagonal Road Extension, and the intersection of Frederick Boulevard and Diagonal Road Extension. Each EMC sign would measure a total of 12 feet in width by 4 feet in height for 48 square feet of area. Petitioner states the replacement EMC signs are necessary to increase visibility from several thoroughfares and to provide safe transit to multiple facility entrances during events and services. Planning staff recognizes the desire and need of this landmark church to clearly convey information to the traveling public. South Hawkins Avenue is a main arterial with a preponderance of retail uses. As such, the planning staff can support the requested retail-style EMC signage at the intersection of South Hawkins and Diagonal. However, the planning staff recommends retention of the more residential church-style sign at the Frederick Diagonal intersection. Diagonal Road serves as a logical line of demarcation between the retail uses to the south and the church and residential uses to the north, and the church campus serves as a transition to residential properties to the north and west. The existing externally illuminated 30-square-foot sign adequately identifies the church as motorists are coming off the expressway. As such, planning staff and planning commission recommends approval of the requested sign at South Hawkins and Frederick and on Diagonal, and that any signage at the Frederick Diagonal intersection be limited to 30 square feet with external illumination.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience that is here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Just going to ask if you please give us your name and your address.
Sure. Good evening. My name's Tom Yankovic. I'm with Ellett Sign Company at 3041 East Waterloo Road, Akron, Ohio, 44312. Again, this church has been here for 36 years, and they're replacing signs that have been there for about 30 years. The square footage is the same for the replacement signs as the new signs. The new sign on Frederick and Diagonal Road Extension is more of a horizontal format. The existing was more vertical, but it's essentially the same square footage. You know, the EMC portion of these signs, the places of worship are realizing the benefits just because of all the events and fellowship opportunities that they have to offer. And if you went on the website and you saw all the events that the House of the Lord has to offer, like in the month of April, in 1 week there's 20 different events. So therefore, you know, it's imperative you use this technology to grow and prosper your church. The other thing is traditional methods of distributing this information. It's just the bulletins and newsletters that you got at church, but that generally stayed within that. congregation. Now this technology allows you to outreach into the community and people that go by many demographics and special needs that this church has to offer, and this technology allows that to happen. Now, when you're over at that intersection at Frederick and Diagonal, the one where you want external illumination, you know, across the street you have the Marathon Station, the under canopy light. It's over at that station is so bright anyways that any external illumination from a sign just wouldn't be visibly seen at that intersection. And also, it's on an angle, so it's facing that exit, on-ramp, commercial property across the street. And so that light's competing. So the internal illumination is really needed there so you can get good visibility as you're coming on and off that ramp and at that intersection. It's also facing away from the residential community and into that commercial area. So we really feel that the internal illumination is needed. We really feel strongly that the electronic portion is needed. And we would abide by any other requirements that a normal retail zoned area would have, such as, you know, automatic dimming so it doesn't cause glare at night, 8-second delay that the other churches and places in those districts would enjoy. And so it wouldn't be flashing, it wouldn't be bright, it wouldn't be a distraction, but a very, very nice visible sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Yes, my name is Carlton Buck, and I represent the church. I've been an architect working with them for the past 40 years. It's 4 Points Architectural Services, 2850 South Arlington, Akron, Ohio. And I'd just like to support the sign. I've been involved in the sign placement originally, and I was involved in the sign placement this time. And the one that's in question really is the one at Frederick and Diagonal, and that one is facing, it's diagonally set into the intersection, so it actually faces the exit off of 77. And it's very important to the church to have this kind of signage that is easily changeable and that will give them the opportunity to share with the community all the events that are going on in the church and in the community that they supply space for. So it's very important that we do have that, and we look forward to your approval on it. We have actually met with the one couple that own a residence near that intersection. They actually are looking at the end of the sign, so they would never see any illumination of it at all. They are in support of it. We have a letter with their signature on it. Be happy to share it if that need be. And also, the existing sign that's been there, as Mr. Yankovic said, it's been there for many years, and it really needs to be replaced. It's a vertical sign. It's got some nice shrubbery in front of it. We're going to put our sign in the same location. It will be set up off the ground slightly so that it's just above the bushes that are there. And the House of the Lord maintains that corner very nicely. I know the concern is the clutter of signage, and if we want to see clutter, we just look across the street at Marathon. So we want to keep it nice and clean on our side, but it really needs to be one that has the EMC to it and the self-illumination or internally illuminated. If there are any questions concerning it, I'd be happy to answer or meet anyone out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to support this ordinance?
Good evening. My name is Pastor Herman Matheson. I'm one of the associate pastors and the chief operating officer for the House of the Lord. You've heard all of the science and the technology that goes on there. I wanted to relate to you, ours is a message of love, hope, support, and compassion. And the signage we're looking to put up is one where we're not selling product, but we're offering resource. We're offering support, hope, and compassion through the ministries that we have there. And sometimes it is difficult to get it out completely to the community, just having that sign on one corner, because the one that we're talking about right now is static and is not changeable at all. So again, I appreciate your concern. I appreciate your consideration for this proposal that we're putting before you. But this would also aid us greatly in getting our message out and further penetrate the community and offer them whatever resources we can bring to bear. It's not about us, it is about the community. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the audience to speak in favor?
My name is Walina Jackson, 1271 Red Bush Road, Akron, Ohio, 44320. I'm a neighbor of the House of the Lord right across the street, and I just came to support the House of the Lord on their recommendations and their asking the council to accept the recommendation that they built this sign. As a person who attends a church that has a sign similar to the one that they're requesting, I see the positive effects that it has. And looking at some of the diagrams that they've shared with me, it would be a tremendous positive asset to that side of the community as far as inviting other people in the community to attend a lot of the events that they have there. Because as Pastor Matherson said, that they have a lot of resources, but sometimes it's hard to get it out. And I'm one of those who do not get to the internet, or I'm not as social literate as most people would be. So I'm still one of the old schoolers who like to look at signs and read signs, and I pass off the freeway, I can see it, I'm coming in, I'll visit, and I would like to support. So I'm just here in favor of and support of the House of the Lord and what they would like to do in the community. I think it would tremendously give a positive effect on that side of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we'll close our public hearing.
Yes, President, I would like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Amobian? Kamer? Neal? Abstain. Swirsky?
Okay.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
As mentioned, the report of the committee is favorable. This, just as we had heard, it's a ground sign, basically. Both of them are going to be ground signs located on the corner. This parcel, which houses the House of the Lord, is considerable in size. It also has basically 4 frontages, if you will, 2 of which are commercial, and the third is retail, if you will. The parcel's considerably large. Within the ordinance itself, I'll point out that item number 3, one of the conditions of this conditional use is that it cannot flash. It has to stay static for 8 seconds in between. So that's, and also it's important to mention too that the traffic engineer did review these signs and has checked off on them. So with that, we ask that we move forward on this conditional use this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules, oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to stand, and I'm not able to vote because of a potential conflict of interest, but I do want to say I appreciate the House of the Lord, what they mean to this community. I don't think I have to share. Many in the on council have worked with the House of the Lord. I appreciate Ms. Jackson coming down to lend her support. And the letter that we got today from Mr. White, did want to stand that where his residence sits, it's not impacted. You can't even see the signs from that. But I will meet with him to address his concerns, but I don't see that any need to delay us voting. But I do have one concern. I want to make sure that we vote correctly so that we support what the church would like, which is both signs. The illuminated, the way the legislation came in, I don't know if it spoke to that. Excuse me, Mr. Fusco. I had a question. Even though I explained why I can't vote, I want to make sure that what we vote on is to approve what the church would like, not the way the... Okay.
Yeah, I've just been informed that this ordinance is flawed. So what we're going to do is I would like to pull the committee again to take time and to refer this particular item so that we can get the one that has the approval of the appropriate signage.
Very good.
Mobian? Kamer? Neal? Swirsky? Thank you. I'd like to refer this item.
So this item will be referred.
Okay. Let's see. What am I doing? There we go. Okay. Second public hearing for this evening, ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a training and research center at 815 to 833 Carroll Street and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Oriana House proposes to utilize a 10,800 square foot church to provide for required service training for the majority of its employees. The church, which was built in 1920, is in very good condition. The detached house, which was built in 1870, will house their 6-staff research department. A 24-space parking lot is sited between the church and the house and is in good condition. The separate parking lot to the north, accessible from Bookdale Avenue, will be resurfaced, landscaped, and contain approximately 45 spaces. The training center for Oriana House employees will only take place between the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with an occasional early evening training session. The proposed use has a relatively low traffic generating research and training center will not negatively impact the surrounding uses, and both Planning Commission and planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Good evening. Bernie Rochford, 710 Upper Merriman, Akron, 44303. Members of council, I would like to thank Mr. Antonucci and his department for his help in processing this. The church is just a little over 3/4 of a block away from our administrative offices at the old Frankfelder Grade School at the corner of Bookdale and Arlington. We've been there since 1995, and as our agency has grown, so has the need for expanding our administrative services, in particular the training department that trains the majority of our staff in the Akron-Cleveland area. This facility came on the market. We purchased it from the Bethany Lutheran Church shortly after it came on the market, and for our purposes it will really be ideal. The church, as mentioned, has a sanctuary area that will accommodate a fairly large number of staff. It works out well for our training. The basement of the church has room for a computer lab and additional smaller training space. The house is a real gem of a house. It needs some work. The woodwork and the pocket doors, I mean, you just can't find that in today's new housing. And we want to make sure that we maintain that. As I mentioned, there was mentioned the back parking lot that faces Bookdale is currently a gravel lot that hasn't really been used or seen much attention for some time. We're looking to either asphalt it or concrete it. We've got some estimates that have come in. And again, it's the proximity and the size really fits our needs, and I think we can do a nice job in keeping it up for the neighborhood and for our use. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in the audience speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we will close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
I would like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. I swear this time. Amobian? Kamer? Neal? Swirsky? Aye.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This one is approved by the Planning Department, the Planning Commission, the Ward Council representative. Therefore, We recommend approval.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sim, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay, public hearing number 3, legal notice. It's hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the council of the city of Akron during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a commercial business and construct a building at 1081 Eastwood Avenue.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Rodney Porter is requesting permission to construct a pre-engineered metal building for an equipment rental business on this property. The structure would be set back 65 feet from Eastwood Avenue with a concrete driveway along the west side of the building and asphalt paved parking containing 10 spaces in front of the building. One of the goals of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to encourage the expansion and development of commercial and industrial activities in areas suited to their needs. This section of Eastwood Avenue is dominated by conditionally approved commercial and light industrial uses of a similar appearance to this proposal, and the addition of this commercial use should not be detrimental to the surrounding properties or the neighborhood. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Good evening. I'm Rodney Porter, 1053 Kevin Drive, Akron, Ohio, 44313. I'm the owner of Val's Crane and Equipment Rental. We're looking to propose a pre-engineered metal building similar to the building next door to the property we're trying to acquire. We're a rental company, large construction equipment, but we generally have equipment on site and won't really impact the neighborhood with heavy trucks and equipment. I'm welcome to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian, Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes. The recommendation from the Planning Department, Planning Commission is favorable. The ward council person's in favor. We recommend approval this evening.
Very good. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, the report of the committees for time on 4 through and including 8.
Time will be granted 4 through 8.
The report of the committee is to file 9 and 10. Those are the two conditional uses that were just passed.
9 and 10 will be filed.
Time on the balance.
Time will be granted on 11, 12, and 13, 14, and 15. Public service, Councilman Keith.
Time. Thank you, Madam President.
Time will be granted.
Okay.
We'll now move into our new legislation. Planning.
Speed this thing up a little bit. Item number 1, planning, offered by President Somerville and Councilman Kamer. Ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title 15 land usage and enacting the Chapter 154 vacant commercial and industrial buildings of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 2, offered by Keith and Swirsky, Resolution declaring it necessary to improve Forest Edge Drive, Aries Way, Carriage Hill Lane, Fox Trace Trail, High Hampton Trail, Timberline Trail, Bent Creek Trail, Deer Ridge Run between certain termini by paving, grading, resurfacing, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Keith, ordinance amending and or supplementing Title 5, Public Works, Chapter 52, Garbage and Refuse, Section 5214, Service Charge, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like time on this, and if you have any questions, if you would be sure to get them into the correct department to have them answered, and if you want to run those by me so that I know what you are asking also, or all of council, so that we know what the questions are and we all get the same answers. Thank you.
Thank you. This item will be referred.
Okay, item number 5, offered by Mr. Kamer, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of publicly advertising.
We missed 4.
Sorry. Keep thinking the cabs are on. Item number 4, offered by Samples, ordinance authorizing director of public service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for upgraded replacement parts for the primary tanks at the city water reclamation facility and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kilby?
The wishes of the committee is to place it on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, let's try it again. Offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of advertising for bids, publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract with Axon Enterprises for the purchase of tasers or taser-related equipment and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 6, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to purchase up to 37 Lenovo computers, 5 docks, 5 DVD players from Lenovo government and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 7, offered by Kamer, ordinance amending and or supplementing Title 9 General Regulations, Chapter 92 Animals of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is time, but also I want to remind everyone, even if public safety doesn't have legislation next Monday at 2:15, we're still going to meet so we can discuss this and hear from our animal warden. Thanks.
Thank you. Time will be granted. We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to this council during this time, you may approach the podium. We're going to ask if you please can sign in, state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. You'll have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches the decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here on this evening that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Jonas Birch, 256 East Archwood Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44301. I sent the council members an email. I own a Walk in the Park Cafe on Astor Avenue in Ward 7, and it was regarding the caucus held earlier today in regards to the MNOA grant, and I'm highly opposed to removing that grant. There's a lot of good that can come out of it. We're going to see a lot of benefit from the Great Streets Initiative by the mayor. We want the community to be able to get those, get the grant money to be able to help beautify the area in every single ward that we have. And also as well, I do not like the fact that there might be a restriction on the public comments where we have to fill out a card before we have to come in.
Thank you, Mr. Birch.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else here to speak before our public comment period?
Good evening. My name is Greg Burke, 1242 Kohler Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44314. I proudly serve as captain of the Highland Park Block Watch, and we have two vacant commercial buildings in our area that really are in bad shape and I believe should be torn down. 1284 West Waterloo Road, formerly known as Mike's Market, is a structural issue, and we have residents next door who will be impacted by that. And they reside at 1280 West Waterloo Road. Additionally, we have a vacant former corner store at the corner of 27th Street Southwest and West Wilbeth that is literally collapsing. It's an eyesore without question, and the fact that it's deteriorating adds to the problem. And I know that there's funding that is hopefully going to be allocated for the removal of commercial properties, and I would really like to see these two be included in that, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burke.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Bowden, and my address is 756 Chalker Street in Akron, Ohio, 44310. I come to ask the council to look at vacant commercial buildings on North Hill. There is a vacant building that's been vacant since I was a youngster, and it's called Rufus Barbecue, and it's a very bad eyesore in the community. It is so bad that the plywood that's up there has been patched, like somebody tried to make a quilt blanket out of the building to secure the building. I have called several times to have the building secured because the side door was kicked in. It has been an eyesore, and I've been living on North Hill since a child. I still reside on North Hill, and I would like to see something done on North Hill to make people want to come back into North Hill and live. Also, that we will have businesses coming back into North Hill. There's also another building on the corner of North Howard Street and Talmadge Avenue. When I was a child, it was a drugstore, and now it is a vacant building that is now, the fencing is coming down. It looks like the bricks are getting ready to fall from the top of the roof, and that building needs to be considered to be torn down as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll close our public comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Keith. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Keith. Public Utilities, Councilman Kilby. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. Economic Development, Councilman Sims. 45. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
Subject to call.
Is there anything else coming before council? Councilman Sims?
Just a reminder that tomorrow is election day. Polls open at 6:30 and close at 7:30 p.m. So I'd encourage folks to get out and vote tomorrow. Thank you.
Anything else coming before this body? There's a motion. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Seeing no objections, we're dismissed.